Hi everybody, this is Jamie from Ladybug Studios, and today I'm going to show you the basics of using your browser's built-in developer tools to make customizations to the look of your site. I happen to be using Firefox, but this should also work if you're using Chrome or Internet Explorer. In any of those cases, you already have developer tools built into your browser and you shouldn't have to download anything extra. In order to demonstrate how to use the developer tools to examine and edit your HTML and CSS, I thought I would give a couple of examples using demo Genesis child themes on the StudioPress website. The two examples I'm going to show you are first, changing the footer background color in the Parallax Pro theme. So I'll scroll down and show you the footer. And the second example will be removing the underline from the recent post links in the Metro Pro Themes footer. These examples are actual questions that I've seen in the StudioPress forum, so hopefully they'll be of interest to many of you. So let's start with the Parallax Pro theme example. So in this case, I want to change the background color of the footer. So the first thing I'll do is right-click on the area of interest. In this case, it's the site's footer. So I'm going to right-click, and then in the context menu that comes up, I'm going to select Inspect Element. So here we have an inspector window that came up. And I'll just mention that you can also access these tools from your browser by going to Tools, Web Developer Inspector. In the inspector window of the developer tools, you can see the HTML markup for the page on the left, as well as any relevant CSS rules on the right. One very cool thing about these tools is that they let you match visual elements on the web page to their corresponding HTML markup. So if I simply hover over various HTML elements, I'll see things light up on the page. Because I'm interested in changing the site footer, I see that if I hover over this div that has a class footer widgets, that entire footer lights up. So that's probably where I want to be. I'll also mention that if I click on these arrows, I can see that I'm kind of digging into the layers of the footer, and I can go deeper and deeper and say if I wanted to target something inside the footer, say the text area that says let's get started, I could go down to this particular element and see that that's where I would find that text. However, what I'm interested in doing is changing the color of the whole site footer, and I see that that will probably be accomplished in footer widgets because that's where that entire footer will light up. So now if I go to the corresponding CSS for footer widgets, I in fact do see a background color defined, and that's this shade of red. So something really cool that you can do is not only identify the element that you want to change, but you can actually preview what it will look like after you make the desired change. So in this case, say that I wanted to change it to the color blue. I would simply click on that color and replace it with a new color. And as you can see, the site is updated based on my new CSS element. Now, I'll mention that you should it's best practice to use the hex code for colors, but I'm just doing this as an example. Now, don't worry, you're only making this change on your browser. And if you hit refresh, everything will go back to normal. So if I scroll down here, the footer is again that red color. However, if you liked that change, I'll just go back to the inspector window and find this footer again. You would know that all you have to do is go to your style.css file to line 1596, and that's where this background color is being defined, and you could change that. Alright, the second change I want to make is to remove the text underlines in the recent post section in the footer of the Metro Pro theme. So what I'm talking about is this section, and I want to remove the underline in these links. So again, I'll right-click on the area of interest to go to my inspector. And I'll line those up so you can see them. Alright. So what I see is an unordered list, so that's a UL, of links, which are constructed with this A or anchor tag for the hyperlinks. In the CSS, if we look at the CSS for these links, we see that that a color is defined, but the underline is not specified. That's because hyperlink tags are underlined by default. So what we can do to remove that underline and to basically override the default is to add a property called text decoration and give it a value none. So I'll do that right here. Now what that does is remove the underline from any link on the whole website. So any place where there's an A tag, the underline will go away. But what if we want to be a little more specific and just remove the underline from the links in this particular widget and not remove the underline from links elsewhere on the site? Well, the answer is to use a more specific selector from one of the enclosing HTML tags. In this case, if we look at the enclosing HTML tags, we come upon a section tag that has ID recent posts 4, and we see that this is an ID that's specific to only this particular recent posts widget. So how are we going to test this change? Well, in addition to modifying the CSS in this box, we can actually go into the style editor and we can test modifications that we might make to our style sheet here. So I'm going to first just refresh the whole page, go back down to the footer, and show you that currently all of the links are underlined. So now we see in the style editor there's a list of all the style sheets that go into this site, and there are quite a few, and probably a lot of these are coming from plugins. So we want to go down and we want to find the style.css rules that apply to the theme itself, the child theme. So we can tell this is correct because the theme name is Metro Pro. Okay, so all we need to do is scroll down a ways. I'll show you where in the style sheet we have that color for the anchor tag. So that's right here. And I'm just going to insert a new rule where I say if a section has the ID recent post 4, and if we want to apply this to any anchor tag underneath that, then we want text decoration none. And you can see what that does is it removes the underline from all of these links in the recent post section, but it doesn't remove the underline from links elsewhere on the page. So now you know that all you need to do is to go into your child theme style.css and add this new rule that applies to the hyperlink text under this particular ID. Now I'll mention that in general it's best practice to add your custom CSS to either a new CSS file or in a section of the child theme CSS that you've designated for your custom modifications, just so you stay organized. In this screencast, I've given you a taste of how you can use your browser's built-in developer tools to customize the look of your site. It takes some practice to get good at finding the elements to change and the CSS code to make your customizations, but hopefully you're encouraged to get started and you've seen how powerful these tools can be. Thanks for watching. This is Jamie at Ladybug Studios, and as always, you can visit my site at www.ladybugstudios.com and contact me at info@ladybugstudios.com or on Twitter. I'm at Ladybug Studios.